My name is Alexa Sciuto, and we're at Baltimore Improv Group in their podcast studio. And I am here to talk about something that happened to me recently. I'm a regular person, and I do regular things, and I got defamed by Fox News. So what happened was, I am a teacher. I'm a middle school Spanish teacher. I am going to strategically not name my employer. And I also have a platform on TikTok that I use to educate. I'll make content about Spanish. I'll make content about teaching in general. I also use my platform to spread awareness about the importance of LGBTQ representation in the classroom. You might guess I have a rainbow flag in that classroom, at least one. And an author associated with Fox News named Hannah Grossman noticed a TikTok of mine where I had a pride flag in the background and reported on it. She wrote an article about me. She named me in the article. I, by the way, never identified myself as an employee of my employer. I didn't even use my real name on my TikTok. I used a pseudonym. Once my account started gaining popularity, I decided to take anything that ever had my name on it off the account, and I never had my employer's name on it. I did double check and take down any comments that had my full name in it or my employer. I didn't identify myself as an employee. I didn't name the location where I worked. I didn't even use my real name on my TikTok account because I have noticed the vitriol toward teachers. There's a very anti-teacher sentiment going around right now, which I don't fully understand. And there's a lot of anti-LGBTQ sentiment, so I figured it would be safest to take my name off my account as soon as it started gaining popularity, and I used the pseudonym Scooter EDU. The video that was reported on, where the headline was, "Teacher brags about using taxpayer money to indoctrinate children." I was responding to a comment that accused me of indoctrinating children. I never originally brought up the topic of indoctrination. I think it's a very silly thing, and no one has ever been able to tell me what they mean when they accuse me or other teachers of indoctrinating it. There's never much of a how behind that. So someone else accused me of indoctrinating children, and then I, rhetorically, am in a clip where it's written on the screen. It says, "It happened. Finally, I got fired for indoctrinating the kids, and I'm packing some things from my desk into a box." And then it says, "Psych," as to imply that everything in the last clip was not true. I would think that includes the part of me indoctrinating, because that was a point that has been brought up to me by a few people as, "Well, you did say you were indoctrinating them." And I think the context of the video, it's pretty clear that it's rhetorical. And I actually didn't say I was indoctrinating them. I said I got fired for indoctrinating the kids. It could be wrongful firing. I didn't say I was indoctrinating them. And then I do a little dance in front of a pride flag. It actually wasn't even my pride flag. I recorded it in the music room. And there was a sticker somewhere on there that said, "Put the taxes in the bag." Another joke, you could call it. But that got interpreted purposely, who's to say, by this author to say that I was using that tax money to indoctrinate the children. How? I don't know. I don't know how much it costs to indoctrinate children. The day after the article was published, I was put on administrative leave with pay by my employer. And this is pending an investigation into allegations of misconduct. I was not told at the sit-down meeting where I was told I was on leave what the allegations were. And I was also told that the decision is above anybody in my school, including my principal. I later found out through the director of investigations that the allegation is misuse of social media. My employer doesn't have a policy on social media. That was admitted to me directly by the director of investigations, and it's written in a letter from the Maryland Board of Education to my employer, their Board of Education. So I'm not sure how misuse of personal social media is possible if there is no policy. If there is no policy policing such. I had to participate in an interview with the investigator, and I was able to bring representation to the interview. During the interview, I was told that I was put on leave because of many complaints that were phoned in to my school district. And these were complaints not necessarily from community members or stakeholders, but they were just from anywhere. And they were demanding that I be removed from the classroom, and it seems my employer honored that request. My union representative asked the director of investigations what the complaints were about, and we were told that the complaints were mostly about pride flags and that I had pride flags in my classroom. I challenged that because I thought we were there to talk about my use of social media, not my classroom decor. The article wasn't even about pride flags. It was about the joke I made at the expense of taxpayers. But we were told that I was removed because of the many complaints that we did confirm were about pride flags in the classroom. I was asked by the investigator if we're allowed to have pride flags in the classroom. My district gave us all little rainbow magnets with the school's logo in the center of it. I imagine I am allowed to display that in my classroom. It came from the central offices. The pride flags that I do have in my classroom were given to me by our school's LGBT club. Everything I have in my room is all the flags I have, at least some posters I got from other places, but all the flags I have in my room are from the school. I was told after the interview, which was on December 22nd, 2022, that I should hear back soon from someone in HR or my principal. I'm not sure how soon can be defined. It's a bit of a subjective word, but today is April 28th, 2023, and I am still on leave and I have not been given any updates. And I have reached out several times asking for an update. I don't know when I will be back in the classroom. And I do believe what happened to me is discriminatory. So the investigation is internal. It's being conducted by people within the offices of my employer. I don't know if that involves anybody outside of my district, but I do understand it's an internal investigation. Yeah, so I have been working with my union representative. I've also been working with my building representative, who is just a teacher, but they're more familiar with the contract and everything. I can bring that person to a meeting with an administrator if it's for disciplinary purposes, and they just, take notes and make sure that I'm being treated fairly. So I've been in contact with them a lot. And there's just not much my union can do for me because this this administrative leave is not disciplinary action. There has been no damage because I'm still employed, I'm still being paid. I haven't been disciplined. Administrative leave isn't on the progressive discipline model that we use, which starts with corrective counseling and it goes up to, all the way to being fired. But in between there is a verbal reprimand, a letter of reprimand, I want to say suspension with or without pay, but you know, noted suspension, and then fired is at the top of that. I have not been disciplined before. Something else that came up in my interview was I have been talked to before regarding some statements I made online about a school shooting that I survived. I went to a school where there was a shooting, and I was talking about it with another person in a Facebook group, and somebody didn't like it, I guess, and they took screenshots of it and sent it to my school. I was told that 2 people complained about me from anonymous emails, and I have a feeling maybe it's actually one person with 2 anonymous emails because what are the odds, that 2 people wanted to complain about the same thing using the same method? But that is purely speculation on my part. I found out later that I have been watched a little bit online by a group called Moms for Liberty. If you don't know who Moms for Liberty is, they are, in my opinion, I'm going to be very legal about that. In my opinion, Moms for Liberty is a hate group, and they oppose LGBTQ, specifically transgender representation in school. They oppose anything that they see to be critical race theory. They pretty much have an issue with any time race is brought up in any class, including history class, where it's relevant sometimes here and there. And they did catch wind of my activity online, and I do believe that they reported what they did because of that and not anything in relation to gun safety, because that was one of the things they said in their anonymous email was they're concerned that if I make light of what happened at my high school, can I be trusted with the students' safety? I don't think they're actually concerned about that. I think they are just upset with what I do with my my activism. This conversation was brought up in my interview with the investigator, and it was contextualized as a reprimand, which is not what it was. I didn't have a representative with me. I wasn't made aware of my right to bring a representative. And our master agreement states that if we are being brought in for a meeting with an administrator for investigative purposes or for disciplinary purposes, we have to be made aware of our right to bring a representative. During this meeting, actually the first one, I asked if I should have brought a representative. I asked my principal that, and they told me, no, this is not disciplinary. But then in the interview later, in the interview in December, it was phrased as the assumption were it was disciplinary. I was asked if I was reprimanded before. The answer is no. The author who wrote about me, Hannah Grossman, has written about many other teachers. 2 of the teachers she also wrote about are other Maryland teachers. So that's 3 Maryland teachers altogether. She wrote about me, and she wrote about 2 teachers from Montgomery County Public School. I don't work for Montgomery County Public Schools. Montgomery County did not remove either teacher from the classroom. They are both still in their classrooms. As far as I know, no other teacher has been removed from their classroom. In addition to the teachers in Montgomery County, I'm in contact with 3 other teachers from outside of Maryland, 1 from Minnesota and 2 from California. None of them have been removed. In fact, a few of them got awards, which hurts. I'm happy for them. I would just maybe like one too. Not even an award, but, just to be treated normal would be great. My having been put on leave is non-disciplinary on paper, but to say that it's adversely affecting me, it that doesn't at all do justice to the last 4.5 months. I did express my distress to someone in my district, and I was asked if I know about the employee assistance program where we can get 10 complimentary counseling sessions a year. I burned through those by early February, and now I spend $200 a month to get the degree of treatment that I feel I need. Between getting put on leave, which was on December 12th, 2022, to my interview, which was on December 22nd of that same year, I don't think I ate a full meal the entire time. I already have anxiety, and when it gets very bad, my appetite is just suppressed. I don't think I slept a full night that whole time either. I lost 7 pounds in 10 days. I I don't weigh myself very much, but I usually bounce between like 102, 104. And I weighed myself after the interview because after the interview, it seemed to go very well because a lot of the evidence that was sent in, because that was another thing, is that after this article was published, people did like deep dives on me, especially Moms for Liberty. You may call them big fans. They they dove through everything I'd ever posted. They sent it with the context changed. Some of the images were changed and the videos that they sent were doctored. There is a TikTok I made where for Halloween I was Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove. And if you know that movie, you know he drinks a little pink potion and then he passes out on the table and turns into a llama. So, like every Spanish teacher on the face of the planet, I have a stuffed llama in my classroom. And on the day that I was dressed up as Cusco, Halloween, I had this little pink bottle of liquid that I made myself. I put glitter in it. And in this TikTok, I take a drink of it and I pass it on the desk. And then the transition is there's a llama that actually hits the desk. And I put some of the accessories from my costume on him. And somebody sent in that video, but cut out the part where I turn into a llama. And so it looks like I just take a shot in my classroom and pass out. Because I drink something out of a little bottle that's about the size of something that might hold 1.5 ounces of liquor. But it's all okay. It was water with glitter in it. Another one it was just a picture of me and somebody photoshopped a gun on top of it. It wasn't believable at all, but they sent that in. Others were just posts that they sent with their own context. There was something I posted that had a syringe in it. It was a vaccine. The one that I and everybody else in my district had to get to keep working there. And they sent it in the context that I was posting about illegal drugs. The syringe was clear. I haven't done any hard drugs in my life, but I do understand that the liquid in the syringe is not typically clear. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong about that, cut that out. Um, so I felt good about the end of the interview because everything they showed me was doctored or severely out of context or just fine. They were just mad about it. And so I felt like it went very well and I was going to hear back very soon because that's what I was told. And so right at the end of it, feeling better, I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry because I hadn't eaten anything in a week. And so I wanted to get something from Grubhub. But before I did that, I was like, I've got to know. I've got to know what I weigh right now. So I weighed myself. I weighed 97 pounds. And if I look at pictures of myself from around that, like, period of 3 weeks that I was at that weight, I'm like, oh my God, I was so skinny. I look like I'm dying. And I was kind of dying a little bit. After that was winter break, and I felt mostly okay during winter break. After that, it was just a slow recurrence of all of those symptoms as I realized I'm not getting a call anytime soon. And now it's the end of April, and I might never see my students again. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to get fired, but because I'm being paid, my district can keep this dragging out for as long as they want. It's legal because they're paying me and it's not disciplinary. There's nothing in the contract or the master agreement or any rule that limits how long they can take doing this. And I really miss my students. And I know that they miss me because they've sent me messages that I saw before I lost access to my email and all my accounts. I'm not allowed to respond. It's part of the terms of the leave that I don't have any contact with any students. I've got 8th graders who are going on to high school who I may not see again. I'm not going to get to sign their yearbooks. And a lot of them are queer. And there's a couple adults in the building that they trust, and I was one of them. And I worry about them a lot because they do talk to me about what's going on in their lives. They eat lunch in my room. And I know that they looked up to me. I know that they look up to me. I am scared for how this response by my employer is going to impact the anti-teacher, anti-public school, and anti-LGBT sentiments that are circulating in this moment. I'm afraid that if the people who are so afraid of what they don't know getting their demands met, what are they going to ask for next? Because I'm not going to be the last person this happens to. It happened to 2 other teachers in Maryland after me by the same person. Moms for Liberty is after public schools. I'm only part of it. It's going to keep happening. And I did see on Facebook, I've got a sneaky account in their Facebook group. I knew they weren't going to let me in the group. And there is a post where they have screenshots of my stuff and they're orchestrating calling my district and reporting things. So those images that were doctored and edited very likely came from members of Moms for Liberty. I'm afraid for my own students who looked up to me because I've always told them, speak your mind, live your truth, and, be you and do your thing. And, because that's what I do. And I'm afraid of what them seeing me get removed from my position. They think I was fired. They don't have any reason not to think that. I can't tell them it's not the truth. It's against the terms. And I am afraid of how that's going to impact them. I'm afraid that they may think that if they ever do the same thing, if they speak their minds, that something bad may happen to them. And that's the opposite of everything I am as a teacher. So I have had a lot of time off. I I've been looking into how I can, best use my time. Um, I just moved into a new house, so I've been keeping house. I I'm a comedian. I perform locally, so I've got a lot of material now. So I've been writing that into some of my comedy, and I don't name my employer in it. I feel like I should make that clear. I'm in a competitive karaoke league where we did not win, but it's a good time. And I've had a lot of time to like practice costumes and characters and stuff, and I know how to put a wig on now. It's a process. You can't just put it on your head. And I've got some cats I've been spending time with. One of them got a bladder infection, and he needed a lot of attention for a couple of weeks. So it was actually kind of good that I was around to make sure he didn't pee on the couch, which he does love to do. He did. He doesn't do it anymore. So that's good. All right, these are the ones that we're going to run by a lawyer. Um, I've been in contact with the ACLU, who directed me to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Like I said, I do think what is happening to me is discriminatory, and I am going to have an investigation conducted. Though I did say if I was brought back by April 11th, I would drop all charges. But it's April 28th, so I would be open to still dropping the charges if I'm brought back soon. But, that subjective soon that was used with me, I'd have to evaluate if I'm brought back, if I'm still open to dropping. But there's a negotiation process if it is found in the investigation that discrimination took place. But if I don't go back this year, and especially if I'm like transferred to a different school or something, I don't think there's going to be much to negotiate. What I want is my life to be normal now, and it's not. And I don't think my removal was necessary. I was told that the purpose of my removal is to prevent further allegations from being made, but the allegation was misuse of social media. I don't see how more time to use social media combats that. Also, people did make other allegations. Other information was sent in. And me being out of the classroom didn't prevent that. Also, and we're really going to check with a lawyer on this one. So also, there are, I know for a fact, other staff in my building with allegations against them, including misuse of social media, sexual harassment of teachers and students, retaliation against reports. I know this because I made those reports, and that staff member has never been removed from the classroom, and that staff member is a man, and as far as I know, is heterosexual, which I am neither. And so I think there is a case to be made for treating one of us differently. I am LGBTQ myself. I'm bisexual. I am not generally out at work, but I think I am now. Because I don't know. I got a lot of emails to my professional email account associated with my employer, calling me all kinds of slurs that indicated that maybe I just kind of wear it on my sleeve. I don't know. I know people know about it. The kids have asked me specifically, "Are you bisexual?" So the information's out there, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm in my general life, I'm not like shy about it. Like it's not like the first thing I say either, but I'll bring it up if it's relevant. I've never brought it up in the classroom. There's like a couple coworkers who I've told just because it like came up. The kids will ask me about it. As a Spanish teacher, the deflection I usually go with, because once a kid asked me, "Miss Sciuto, are you bi?" And so, I've got my flags, and I've got flags of different Spanish-speaking countries. I have an American flag. I have an American one. I get comments all the time on TikTok. You have all these flags. Why don't you have the American flags? I do. It's just in the other corner. If I really want to make them mad, I'll say, of course I have an American flag. I'm a Spanish teacher, and it's a Spanish-speaking country, so why wouldn't I? But I have the American flag as well as a bunch of other flags from Spanish-speaking countries. I have I got like a pack on Amazon with like all of them. I picked like the top 5 populations in Maryland and put those ones up. And then if I have a kid from a different country who they want me to put theirs up, I'll put theirs up too. It's just there's so many flags and only a few flag holders, because all the tax money's going toward indoctrinating the kids. I have flag holder money. We don't have to include. But a kid asked me, "Miss Sciuto, are you bi?" And I said, "Come on, look at my flags, look at my general vibe. I don't think it's a secret. Everybody here can tell. I speak 2 languages. Yes, I'm bilingual." And he goes, "Oh, oh!" It was so it was a very satisfying moment. I had it in my pocket for like 2 years for someone to ask that very, very specific question with that phrasing. My connection to the flags is obviously I've got like every flag up there. Like some of them are contradictory, like you can't be or my understanding is maybe you can. I don't know. If this is like wrong and very problematic, cut it out. But I don't think you could be like homosexual and bisexual at the same time. It seems like those aren't like super compatible. But if that's something we can research later and be like, no, she'll get canceled for this. I already got canceled. So I don't need to get it from both sides. But obviously I don't fit into every identity that's represented in my room. It's also not about me, I do have a personal connection to the representation. When I was in middle school, it was what 2000 like 7 to like 2010, somewhere in there, and it wasn't as accepted as it is now. Teachers didn't have pride flags in their classroom. It was a very like don't ask, don't tell time, and you got very viciously bullied for being gay. And I only imagine that even before that, like the further back you go, the worse it is. And to be teaching now and to see that other teachers do have pride flags in their rooms, and now there are GSAs and clubs to support LGBT kids, which my school does have, by the way. It's where I got the flags, and like that's all very good. I am happy that that's there because it wasn't there for me when I was a kid questioning my sexuality. And people will say that it's inappropriate. Why are you talking about sex with children? It's like we're not, dude. It's no different than a straight teacher having a picture of their spouse on their desk. Or, I mean, if we're really going to run with this, the teachers announce that they're pregnant all the time. And if they don't announce it, you can tell eventually. that is a confession to having had sex. If all of that is okay, then to have some flags that really just say, hey, if you don't experience attraction the same way that maybe you've been told to your whole life, that's fine, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't see why that's an issue. I don't see why that is sexualized. People will look at a picture of a rainbow and call it sexual content, and that is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. I do have a personal connection with this. I've had some people on TikTok, and they're productive. They're not trolls. They're very well-meaning people, but they called me out a little bit for not having as much racially diverse content in the room, which, like the American flag, it was just on a different wall, and that specific video was about LGBT inclusion. With that, I do feel, I mean, obviously it's not going to be personal to me. I'm white. Um, and some of the posters, all but one poster that I have in my room, I made myself. And I don't know, I just feel I don't feel great about making posters for racial representation. I feel like I'm not going to do it well, and I'd rather get some from somebody who has that experience. And actually, somebody from TikTok sent me some. I was really excited to put them in my classroom, but I'm not allowed to go there. So I will do that as soon as I have a classroom to put them in. Those will all be up. So I did survive a school shooting on August 27th, 2012, I believe it was. It's the first day of my junior year of high school. A kid brought a gun to school. He brought a shotgun in a backpack. And he ditched the backpack in the boys' bathroom by the cafeteria of the school. And he just left it there until he was, ready. And then about, I want to say 10 minutes into the first lunch of the day, I think the situation was some kids were throwing their trash at him, and he got fed up, went to the bathroom, assembled his shotgun, and went back into the cafeteria and opened fire. Very fortunately for me, I was not in the cafeteria. I was in my chorus class. And actually, my phone had died, which was that was it was pretty annoying. I did want to text my mom and let her know I was okay. One of our vice principals came over the intercom and just said, "Code red, lockdown, go into lockdown." And we knew right away that something was up, because I mean, by this point, I have been through so many drills of all different kinds, and the drills are all very scripted, but this administrator was doing improv, and I could tell that there was something going on. And, the way that goes is you spend the first 5 to 10 minutes thinking, is this real or is this a drill? It's usually real if you've ever been thinking that for too long. It's usually the real thing. And it was. We do shooter drills now in public schools, but they look a lot different. People like my age and older probably remember the turn the lights out, cover the door, hide in the corner of the classroom. Turns out, and this was the phrasing that was used in my trainings, what a school shooter is hoping to find is a bunch of kids huddled into the same corner. It's dark, but that is the reality that we're living in. So we don't do that anymore. There's a lot of different programs you can use now that have like a plan. Ours is very choose your own adventure in a way in the school where I'm at. Um, there is a lockdown, but we spread out throughout the room. We do make sure the door is locked, and then we barricade the door. I don't have a door on my classroom, which is horrifying. My school is open space, and they put up some walls to close the spaces a little bit, and I don't have a door that I can close. I used to have like an accordion divider, but fire department said that's no good. I don't know how much that would help stopping a shooter anyway. So we have to go to the classroom next to us, which we can access very easily because we have a door directly to that classroom in our classroom. So we have to go in there, and then we barricade the door. During the drill, we just talk about what we would put in front of the door. And I can't imagine doing this drill as a kid. Like, this is so horrifying. We talk about if an assailant were to get in the room anyway, how could we subdue that person? What could we throw at them? And of course, and they make a valid point. The kids ask, what does a guy with a gun care if we throw a stapler at him? And, the truth is, like, if something gets thrown at you, you will flinch, but, kids have to think about this these days. And some kids won't take it seriously at all. They'll just be like, oh, I hope a shooter comes, because then we'll get out of school early. No, you won't. I stayed in my chorus class until I want to say somewhere between 4 and 4:30 p.m. My school released at 2:15. You will have an extended school day, and it's going to be scary. It's not going to be fun. Because another thing about school shootings back before we were prepared for them is the information was kept from us. It was never confirmed by any official source to our class that there had been a school shooting from, I want to say it was around 10:50 in the morning. And we were in our classroom for it was 6 hours. And we never, we figured it out eventually. We weren't supposed to have our phones out, and mine died, but other kids had theirs. None of them had a charger, but that's doesn't matter. Kids were texting each other. The cafeteria did not evacuate in an orderly fashion, and it makes sense. If there's bullets flying around, you run. That's human instinct. But there was no confirmation of what happened until really the next day, which we did go to school the next day, which was an interesting choice. But we left around 4:30. We had to leave all of our belongings. We weren't really even supposed to take our phones, but everyone did. The kind of you didn't hear this from me instruction that we got from an adult, I obviously will not name the adult, was if you have something on you that is going to be evidence, don't take it with you. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. So if anybody had a phone and somebody was texting them about what was going to happen, it was in their best interest to leave the phone. But we did have to leave all of our belongings. We had to leave purses, binders, backpacks, everything, because the school was deemed a crime scene. And really the police needed access to everything in the building if they wanted to search it. I'm sure many, if not most rooms didn't have any of their stuff touched, but it had to be there in case they needed to investigate it. We were one of the last classrooms to get evacuated because the SWAT team had to escort every class individually out of the building. And so they came to get us, and it was dystopian. the SWAT team came. They were in helmets and they had bulletproof vests on. Um, they had canines. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly, most of them were armed and the guns were big. And we are all, we the teenagers, pretty sure our school just got shot up. So this is that was pretty affirmative that that's what had happened. We actually did end up watching a stream of the news, but still, like, the confirmation didn't come from our school. And now that confirmation is part of the process. If there's like an assailant in the building, we're supposed to announce over the intercom, there's an assailant in the building. It's a Caucasian male, looks like he's maybe 5'8", and he's wearing a black hoodie. He's headed toward the cafeteria. Um, and so that's part of it, to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. We're all informed. And then if we have to, we evacuate, but we also make sure that that is a safe thing to do before we do it. If there's any speculation as to how common of an experience this is in the United States in school, I had to do a real drill once as a teacher. In the same 10 years, I've survived 2 incidents. It's too many. There was a bomb found close to our campus, and it's so weird because there's so many echoes of this second experience compared to my first experience in active violence or potential active violence in a school. Because we were just doing our thing. It was like 4th period, and then I think it was the principal. It was either the principal or a vice principal came on the intercom and just said, "Lockdown, go into lockdown right now." And I was like, I remember this. And the kids were like, "Miss Sciuto, is this real?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, last time I asked myself that question, it ended up being real, so let's treat it like it's real. Get into the other classroom." And I made sure they all got in first. And before I even told them to, they all started barricading. Like, they were on it. Like, they were so impressive. And because this wasn't an assailant, what actually happened was the SWAT team got word of the bomb that was on campus. It's kind of a weird situation where somebody else who wasn't working at the school, but like he was there for other like official reasons, had a bomb in his truck that allegedly he was going to attack his mother-in-law with. And then he just left it in his car on a hot day when he went to work, which was at that time at least at a school, like you do. And then somebody else reported it because they knew about the bomb. And the SWAT team arrived, confirmed that we were told it was a mysterious package. And then they just went to the office and found someone, and they were like, "You got to get the kids out of here right now." And they didn't give the school very much information because at that point there wasn't much to confirm. They didn't know yet that there was a bomb. But I heard that announcement, the ambiguity and like the panic in the voice, and it was the same. It was like an immediate echo to that first incident when I was in school. And so we go over the kids' barricade, and the thing about kids, I don't think they realize how dumb adults are. Like, they just think we know, like, so much. And they just kept asking me, like, "Miss Sciuto, like, what's going on?" And I was like, "Hey guys, I'm checking my email. Like, I've got my phone here in case anybody texts me, but I the only information I have is the announcement that you heard. I don't know if this is real, and the kids all know that I was in an incident, um, because of what I've been through before. We're gonna treat this like it's real because it is better to treat it like it's real and then find out it's not and go, egg on our faces, than to not take it seriously and, you know, something awful happens. So we're in this classroom, we're barricaded, and a few minutes later, they come back on the announcements and they say, we have to evacuate and we have to go through the back of the building. So we had to unbarricade ourselves, which they also did very quickly. And I get to my door that I'm supposed to exit from, and it is locked. And so we had to improvise. There's no one to call and say, hey, the door's locked. What do I do? So we go back through my classroom, which doesn't have a door. And the way we're doing it is anytime there's an intersection in the hallway, I stepped out a couple of feet and I did a sweep. And I was like, okay, kids, it's safe, go. And one of the girls at the front of the horde, because it's oh no, it wasn't I thought maybe it was 2 classes because I was with the teacher next to me, but she didn't have a class that period. So it's, my horde of children, and one of the ones at the front was like, Miss Sciuto, I'm really scared. And like the only thing I could say to her was, yeah, me too. I don't know what's going on. And I don't know if the way we're traveling is safe, but it's what we have to do. And then we eventually caught up to the rest of the school that was exiting through the back of the building. And we got outside and it was confirmed to us that there was speculation of a bomb pretty quickly. And we got on buses. We went to a elementary school nearby where we got on some more buses and went to the high school that was closest to us. I believe the elementary school actually had to evacuate too because they were like, they're almost on, like, the property lines are like back to back. So we walked to the elementary school, got buses to the high school, and we just waited there for a pickup. And as promised, it was a very not fun extended school day. So this is not at all a criticism at my school or my district or the other school, because this is a very strange and unprecedented situation. How could we ever be prepared for such a thing? And that's another thing about these drills is even the ones that are better than the ones we used to have, they'll never prepare you for the real thing. There will always be something that happens that wasn't covered in the drills. But we were like, as parents were coming to pick their kids up, writing their names on pieces of paper and bringing them to the microphone and then saying, hey, kids, if you could please panic a little more quietly. We're here. We want to tell you whose parents are here so you can go. And it was a lot. And, I can't think of a better way to do that. Like the writing the names on the paper and saying them into the microphone. Wasn't very effective, but I think it was the most effective thing to do in a room of panicking 10 to 14-year-olds. Like, they're scared. There was just a bomb at their school. Like, what if there's a bomb at this one too? That's how kids think. So we did get all the kids cleared out. Like the latest pickups were by like 5:30. And then there was an issue of, and I'm so curious about how this worked at my high school because we couldn't go and get our things. We evacuated. We weren't sure if we were going back in or not. Most of us left our car keys in our classrooms. And you guessed it, our school was now a crime scene. And we weren't really supposed to go back in and like mess with anything. And, just like at my high school, most classrooms didn't get investigated. But they had to have the option to do that. So after the police figured out that they probably weren't gonna investigate the building, because it all happened outside the building. They let us get our keys, but they were kind of like, don't touch anything else. A couple of my students had left phones like out on desks, and so I did secure their phones and keep them for them the next day. And so that was that. I also, once we got to like our other location, we we were in like fourth period when it happened, but we we lined up by homeroom when we got outside. And so I did like an attendance, like a real quick attendance check, and I just sent a message through our communication system to the parents of the kids in my homeroom and said, "Hey, everybody who showed up for school today is with me and they're safe." So, because I had a lot of kids I I had a lot of kids on their phones texting their parents or like calling their parents, and so I do understand that firsthand. But an issue with that is like the kids need to hear every direction, and we had a lot of kids and they're being totally reasonable on their phones talking to their parents and telling them what's going on. And a lot of parents were calling their kids panicking. Like it was scary. Um, and so I don't blame the kids at all for being on their phones, but I did really need them off the phones just because they needed to hear every direction because it was happening fast. We didn't have an intercom system because we were outside now. And so I did want to just like get a message to the parents that like the kids are safe. Everybody who was in my homeroom, I can't speak for other homerooms, but everybody who came to my homeroom today, if they showed up for school, if you didn't get a call saying your kid didn't come to school today, your kid is with me, they're safe. And then we were able to have a little more peace of mind because I mean the parents need that. My phone was dead, and when I finally got in contact with my mom, because when we were evacuating, my friend let me use her phone. I called my mom, and she was so relieved to find out I wasn't dead. Like, I get it. Like the parents they need peace of mind, so that's why I did that. And we we were all safe, but even with the additional protocols, I can't say it was that different overall than what happened in my high school, other than the clarity and communication, which it made a difference. But as far as like what it was like, it was all the same beats and everything. No one died at in either incident. I know everyone wonders that. One kid did get shot at my school. He made a full recovery. Um, he missed like the first semester, which is fully understandable. Because even after he recovered physically, like that's that's a pretty wild experience. And so I admire that he did come back. There's a lot of vitriolic sentiments toward teachers right now and toward public schools in general. And there is a lot of fear of people who are just different, and I do mean LGBT people. It's about to be part of politicians' platforms in the coming election, and I'm sure elections to come after that. There are anti transgender bills being proposed in 45 different states. Another school district in my state, Carroll County Public Schools, banned rainbow flags, any pride flags, from their school buildings in June of last year. And now this is happening to me. And two other teachers, even though their counties didn't really entertain it, were attacked by the same author. This is not going anywhere. It's not going to stop. And you should care because it's going to get worse, I fear. I was really hoping that, when I was an adult or, by the time I became a teacher myself, that it would be easier for the kids who are queer. And I think in a lot of ways it is, or at least it has been. But this is a scary thing that's happening. And more people need to know about these directed attacks. More people need to know about these targeted attacks toward individual teachers that are done with intent to hurt our careers and remove us from the classroom. If you're a teacher and you find yourself in a position like this, I hope you find me on social media. My TikTok is ScooterEDU. I'm private at the time of recording this because, you know, investigation of misuse of social media. My Instagram is Alexa Standup. Reach out. I will support you, and I know a lot of other teachers who've been through similar things. Even if you don't get put on leave, which I hope you don't, it's still pretty traumatic to be defamed in a national spotlight. I know the emails you're getting, and I know what people are saying to you. I know the feeling of checking your email months later and finding that one that didn't get deleted from spam, and you're like, oh, right, that happened. So reach out, find support. I'm around. I know other teachers who are too. If you're a queer kid watching this and you're scared, that makes sense. If you're a queer kid and the teacher who you trust disappeared, whether or not it was me, being scared makes sense. The message I want to get to you is that we're going to be okay. It's going to be hard for a little bit, but there's a lot of people who care, and there's a lot of people working to make the right thing happen. And I do believe that in the end, what is right will prevail. And in that meantime, there are people who love you and people who support you, even if those people aren't necessarily your parents. Find your people, find your chosen family. Chosen family is just as important as your blood family. I know many people for whom the latter is more important. I hope that administrators in public school districts see this, not necessarily mine. Because I think maybe my school district doesn't know much about what's happening, and for that reason could be taking the information at face value. And I think if there were more awareness around these instances of targeted attacks against teachers, and we knew that it's all part of a campaign against public schools, that maybe this would have been handled differently. So I think it's very important for administrators at school districts to know that this is going on. And I think I'm all done. I think that's everything I have to say.